Well, that's the whole thing too, man. That's the whole thing that I was just that the problem is I feel like that the media has just become sort of this arm of this technocratic oligarch, and it's sort of I feel like
Can
these
you define technocratic oligarch?
sure like technocratic would be like a government based on technology based being ran and enforced by like the tech industry. So we would say like over here Silicon Valley, and then oligarchs are basically like there's only a few
Right.
companies or a few entities that rule and make decisions, and sort of that's what's sort of happening when you have these like governments and corporations, especially coming from China. Like we're just sort of they're just sort of making these mergers, and they're just sort of taking these governments along with them because they have to like bend these policies to sort of to make these things happen. And uh, I don't know. I'm going way too far off the end here,
No,
and
it's cool. I'm
I'm
with you
gonna
actually. So
I'm gonna
I believe in your technological oligarch. I actually follow tech news, and I
mm,
think it's crazy. Like as an example, but people. So Apple's so
like
mighty.
who controls the information? That's
Yo, data gang. That's why I'm on some of this shit for real, real. I have a whole like thing I'm trying to bring through, but hashtag data gang to get people more like invested in data centric approaches and whatnot. Cause like, the ops, so the people that we don't like necessarily are doing this. So
mm,
if let's say you don't like a system and you want to change it, you kind of probably have to have at least an equal footing in fighting them. So everybody's on that data shit. You need data to play any game now. And then you look at what's happening, and it's like Apple got so big that Microsoft, Google, and Amazon have teamed up on Windows 11 to fight the Apple ecosystem. And it's like, holy shit.
right. There's
Like, is that
factions.
not a holy shit? Like, those three, they used to be like the big four, and now
Right.
it's Apple versus the other three. And
Yeah.
you're like, oh,
They're creating these fucking
wow.
monoliths, man.
I mean, what can governments do? Look, Amazon Web Services, right? It is the internet.
Hmm.
That's why nobody goes after Amazon around the world, because every government probably relies on Amazon Web Services for half their internet ecosystem.
Right. And
So what
that's
the
how they
fuck
were
are you
able to
gonna
take
do?
down Parler. Remember, they took down Parler. The Amazon kicked them off their server after they kicked off Trump off of Twitter. They just took down Parler. They just like eliminated it, which is really fucking scary. Look, whatever you feel
I
about
agree.
the distribution of information and like censoring and all that shit, the idea that these people could just shut down an entire platform when these other platforms, by the way, were like, if you don't like it, build another Twitter, build the next Twitter if you don't like it. And it's like, okay, fine. And Parler sort of comes along. I mean, I'm not a part of Parler. I'm not interested in being part of Parler, but I am definitely interested in people being able to disseminate and fucking distribute information and make
So
educated decisions on their own. And
I
and,
kind
and
of like
it's
actually
just
agree
scary.
with you a lot on that shit, especially because it's Amazon that has that level of power, and there's no
The
way to
power to
stop them. And
control whoever controls the information controls the fucking narrative, controls the fucking the outcome and the fucking like they're feeding us whatever they want to feed us, and they're all sort of working together. The New York Times and fucking Apple and fucking and the Democratic Party. Like it's all
but it's
just sort of
actually like even deeper than that shit, right? Like, yo,
yeah, sure. Let's
I don't
go.
know how far you've looked into the power of Visa and Mastercard.
Oh shit. Yeah, I mean I've seen them shut down like what was it, WikiLeaks? They shut down
They shut down shit, like because basically what'll happen is they'll prevent you. Like, yo, Visa and Mastercard are the banking industry, right? Now there is technically Square, which is which is ran by Jack Dorsey of Twitter. He also runs Square, right?
yeah.
Crazy shit, right? Um, Square is actually big. It's so big it is a Visa and Mastercard and power of transactions. But basically, Visa and Mastercard have these ethical codes. So like I found out, like, look, my company has a product where they do virtual credit cards.
Mhm.
So like that shit's nifty actually. It's like privacy.com in the States. We don't have that. We're like an alternative to that. And basically I was like, bro, I could think of a million great ideas. You're trying to have an affair, great ad. You're trying to buy drugs, great ad. Like, you know, come on, think about the ad potential of discrete credit card transactions. That's an amazing fucking thing to have. And then they're like, yeah, Visa will fucking fuck you up if you try to like buy drugs or have affairs in your ads on some ethical concerns. And so if you want Visa to approve your company, like straight up, they wouldn't let me make weed store purchases at first. You have to like prove that the validity of your, I guess, reputation as a company for a very long time before you're even allowed to buy drugs and alcohol through these virtual cards based off of all these regulations. You're like, what? That means there's like even deeper levels of control going on in terms of this level of censorship, where it's like, yeah, sure, Parler wants to do what it wants. It's never good. There will never be an alternative to the Facebooks and shit, because Visa and MasterCard have ethics norms that will fuck up everybody's free speech principles, and they don't give a fuck about free speech.
And they're all talking to each other, as they proved in fucking how they are all colluding on how they all came together to get Trump out of office. Like, they do collude, they do talk to each other. It's foolish to say that these are their own independent companies who work and they can make their own rules. No, they're bending rules. They're fucking they're bending rules. They're inconsistent with the rules. They're doing whatever they can to shape the narrative that's going to benefit them the most. And even though Parler will never be another Twitter, that's still a threat to Twitter. That's still a threat to Facebook. And these motherfuckers, they still, just as the media feels that independent journalists are a threat to them, they fucking are a threat. You know, like, so.
Yo, I think these companies though,
they do care about competition. They do care about making money. They do care about a bottom line.
But I also think that these companies are way more international than anybody gives them credit. Like, yo, look at how Facebook gave the internet to Africa. But what did that really mean? And I'm not playing, right? Like, there's a lot of places in the world where via satellite, this, that, the next thing. So motherfuckers open up their phone, because these places, and a lot of times, a lot of the times these places don't have computers, so it's all mobile shit. So Facebook becomes the internet, and it's like, imagine Facebook opens up and it's not Google, it's just like a Facebook version of a Google interface, and then Facebook is another app within that, and the whole internet is almost siphoned through the Facebook system from multiple countries, that where they're saying in Africa the populations are going to double while the rest of the world retracts. So in the data gang world, it's almost like these guys are saying, fuck America, we're going to go all double down on the future and really get some control in a lot of places. And like, when I look at that, I'm like, wow, that's some crazy shit that's happening out there that nobody's talking about.
But then you look at countries like, I think it was Australia, but there's several countries that actually started banning Facebook because they were like, fuck Facebook, fuck Twitter. These are not, like, there was a country in South America that rejected Facebook and Twitter. They're like, there's no way that you're going to censor me in my own country because you decided what can be said and what cannot be said. And fuck them. That's what I say. Fuck them.
That's why giving the internet to a country is so scary.
Right, exactly. Because who controls that information that's allowed there? And you also see Facebook working with governments to control information, i.e. fucking America. Like, they definitely are talking to each other to create a narrative. And it's a very scary situation when you have this much power, this much control, and it's just in the hands of a very few people. And that's always the argument, right? The top 1%. But this is like the 1% of the 1%. And they're protecting their interests.
Isn't there like antitrust shit going on to fuck up Facebook in them?
Yeah, I'm sure there is. I don't know. And like, I hope they fucking break that shit up, because they are running a monopoly on a lot of shit.
Like, I got told that, well, not that I got told. I watch a couple of people, and from what I understand, they want to fuck up Amazon, and because they all got too big, for real. And that's the big debate, is, are they too big? And so they're actually debating that in Congress a little bit. And they want to try to split Amazon Web Services and all this shit into different companies, take Facebook, Oculus, make them all individual companies. That's like what they're trying to do. And that's being, like, I heard, like, a hot topic now, but I'm not up to date on the outcomes of it. But Yeah, no, you're not wrong to a point where apparently your government agrees.
Dude. And well, and not as so far as to agree, but they'll go as far as they're starting to demand. Like, I don't know if you've seen like the deplorable 12 or whatever they're calling them, but they're calling these 12 people the biggest misinformation people on Facebook. They have multiple platforms, and they're calling for, if someone's banned on one platform, they want them to be banned on all platforms for spreading misinformation, particularly in regards to COVID-19 vaccinations. And so they have these 12 people who are they're pushing and they're putting pressure on Facebook and threatening them with fucking litigation and changing shit around where they'll be able to control it. And so they took it. The White House has taken it upon themselves to sort of research these 12 people and determine that they are they're killing people. They're killing grandma. You know, like just with these people. And you know, whatever you feel about the vaccines, whatever, I'm never a fan of throttling information on any level. But you know, in any case, so now the government is starting to put pressure on them, and so you're seeing that. So not only do they work together, but now sometimes they don't work together, and sometimes the
No, I
government
think they all ops right now. I think they're really that techno. I forgot the term you used, the techno something oligarch. I think that's real, and I think they mad don't. Cause yo, if you look at just leave America and go look at what's going on in Europe, the EU has spent the last 5 6 years going to war. Like the only reason there's even a California law for data protection is because the EU passed the GDPR law, which anybody working in online world is now very well aware of, because if you store client data, you are legally required to delete a European's data or they can sue yo ass, even if you little Mike over in wherever you're at, Ohio, right?